take risks regardless of what the consequences are, because those consequences, you learn from it. It's so true. Like if you never take that risk at all, you won't know what the result would be, right? It could be good. It could be bad. But it's in order to grow. I always believe that you have to take risks in life. And like I said, all the risks that I've taken have led me to where I am today. And it's basically filled my own book of life.
Main Street businesses are struggling as they face challenges nothing like we've seen before. You're listening to the Behind Main Street podcast. Let's learn from real-world Main Street entrepreneurs, pick their brains, and learn their secrets to navigate, persevere, and overcome all the modern obstacles they face every day. Get ready to peek behind the stories, the struggles, and strategies of today's Main Street entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Behind Main Street podcast. Here's your host, Chris J. Cardona.
Great day, everyone. Welcome to the show. Whether it's your first time listening or are an avid follower, thank you so much for joining us. Show notes can be found at www.behindmainstreet.com. Before we get started, I would like to thank the sponsor for this episode.
Today's episode is brought to you by Thinkin' Local, a fundraising and giving-based marketing platform whose mission is to connect local Main Street businesses who care about making an impact in the local community with schools and nonprofits who believe in supporting their local businesses. Find out more by visiting local.com.
Awesome. For today's episode, I'm so super excited to interview a good friend, a business colleague, a co-chamber member, Marijane Chuang, our local pet nutrition expert. She's a mom, a wife, and the owner and operator of Pet Wants Chino Hills. And we're going to peek behind her journey from the beautiful beaches of Hawaii to corporate America and now to being her own boss babe. Marijane, are you ready to take us behind the curtains and dig into your story?
Yes, I am, Chris. Super excited to be here today.
Great. Well, I've given our listeners a little bit of a sneak peek of who you are. Why don't you tell them a little bit more about yourself and what it is that you do?
Yeah, so I am a boss babe, first, as you had mentioned. But first and foremost, I am a mom. I have two kids, a daughter who is going to be 15 years old. She's a freshman at Chino Hills High School, and my son who is 11 and is a fifth grader at Chaparral. Other than being a mom, like you had mentioned, I am a entrepreneur that is the local owner and operator of Pet Wants Chino Hills. We focus a lot on just maintaining your pet's health and wellness. So that's including your cats, your dogs, your puppies, your kittens. If you have questions or if customers have digestive issues with their pets or sensitive skin issues, they come to me and ask for help. And I provide recommendations, sometimes solutions that can work for them. But we do that through food, through their diet, through treats that are single sourced ingredients, as well as natural chews that can enable their pup to be busy while they're working from home or when they're gone. Let's say they're gone on vacation. But for the most part, yeah, we've been helping pet parents for the last year, going on 2 years this year with their pets' health and wellness.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit more about that. Well, let's get into personal, right? Tell me something interesting that you feel that your family, even kids and friends, would say about you.
Gosh, there's a lot of things they could say.
Like all of us. Good things, I hope.
Yes. Right. I can only hope that. I would say the one common thing that I hear a lot of folks say about me is my perseverance to not give up on something that I do. I like to see things from start to finish, if anything. And I put 110% of my effort into anything that I do, whether it's being my job, whether it being a mom, or a project that I'm working on with other folks. But yeah, no, perseverance is something that I definitely hear a lot from folks. that describe me.
Wonderful. I could definitely attest to that. I mean, seeing the progress and journey that you've gone since I've gotten to know you over the last, I would say, less than a year, being a co-member of the chamber and all that stuff. And I've seen what you've done in the community, seeing the progress that you've made, the future plans that you have that you've shared with some of us. It's going to be amazing. And I'm very, very excited about that. I mean, in line with that, how would you describe what your mission in life is?
My mission in life, I've always wanted to be able to make an impact, both in my family as well as in my community. Growing up, I grew up in Hawaii, and I'm Filipino, and my husband's Chinese. But growing up Filipino, I grew up in a big Filipino family, and a lot of it was just helping your family out and being there for family members. And so that carried with me, where I want to do that with my kids and show what kind of impact that we can do as a family for the community that we live in. So in Chino Hills, I've instilled in them that we can help other organizations within the community, whether it be our love for animals and our passion for animals. So we're always either helping with fostering pups, or helping find their homes, their forever homes, or even working with organizations like Paws for Success, where we've collaborated both as a business partner, but also more so, we've become more of a family to each other and helping grow our organizations within this community.
Definitely. What would you say people misunderstand about Marijane the most?
Ooh, they misunderstand me. Let me think about that one. I would say they think that I'm always, I'm shy, and that I don't, I would say shy at first, which is, I would always say, I probably come off as that, where I need to warm up to folks, but I'm so much of a people person that, I'm not the star of the show, or I don't like to have the center of attention, put it that way. I like to have one-on-one conversations, because I like to be present in that moment, and be able to listen. And that's one thing that I've been working on, is just listening as I talk to individuals, talk to friends and colleagues. But I'm not shy at all. I always say that I'm not shy at all. I'm more of an intimate person. But I like working with people, and my past experiences in my past life in corporate America, I was a consultant. I call myself, not a sales rep, but a consultant. So I worked with a lot of folks, in person, over the phone, but more so in person.
Definitely. Well, if there was one thing that Marijane values the most in life, what would you say that would be? It
would be family. Becoming a mom was the biggest, I would say, accomplishment that I could have ever done. I remember actually growing up saying that, I was very career driven, and I knew what I wanted. And I really didn't, I have to say, to be honest, I really didn't think about having kids. But when we decided to, and we were blessed to have our first child, Haley, I wouldn't go back on that. It's like the most best experience that we've ever been on, that we are still on. Actually, it's a journey that we're on, raising two kids, but having her and then having my second son, Logan, and being able to have one of each had made it complete. I grew up with two sisters. My husband, Jesse, grew up with two brothers. So we were kind of banking on, okay, well, what if we have two girls or two boys the first go around? Do we get another? Do we go for a third one? And lo and behold, when we had my second one, he was a boy, and we had one of each, and we're complete. But family is first and foremost important to me. I learned a lot, I would say, about that in the last 2 years, more so, being that we've been in this pandemic. They've been home. When they were not able to go to school, we had to pivot and reconnect, if anything. I was their teacher. I was their discipliner. I was their mom at night. I was their chef, if anything, but it made it fun. I mean, I think it definitely allowed us to reconnect because we were living busy lives, with activities, as you can probably imagine with your family life too as well. And when we were in the pandemic, and we still are, but when we were in lockdown, all we had was each other. And that's something that I tell my kids, all you have is each other. And we're always going to be here for you. And you need to be there for each other, should we pass. But family is definitely a key driving factor in my life.
Definitely. Have you thought about the impact, with everything that you're doing in the community? Family is very, very important to you. Have you ever had thoughts about the impact that you'll have in a short-term basis in the next 5 years?
As I was doing some reflection for last year, I was looking at how have I helped out. First and foremost, I have helped out so many pet parents. They've come back to me. The best compliment I could ever get is someone either referring me to another pet parent that is having some issues with their dogs and their cats, is the best compliment I could ever get. And hearing back their feedback and hearing them say, you've helped my dog, you've helped my cat live a better life, has made a big difference in what I do and why I do what I do and why I love what I do. And we live in such a pet loving community, and I hope to continue to do that and spread that, whether it be I can help them or not, but basically being an advocate for pets and providing them solutions. On the other end of that, as a business owner, helping out the community, being a member of the chamber has allowed me to connect with other small business owners, with even politicians. I would have not thought to even connect with politicians. But again, it's more of that connection, more of being a part of a community like Chino Hills, has allowed me to also help others grow their business by promoting their businesses. I always tell myself, and I'm like, I was never a big social media person back in the day until I started my own business. But I definitely have seen how social media is playing a big role in helping to drive awareness for small businesses. That's one thing that I found success in my own business is not only was I driving awareness for who Pet Wants was, but it was also driving awareness for the other small businesses that I visited or patronized. If I had lunch or breakfast at one of the small local cafes or even coffee shops or even like restaurants, I'd take a picture or, tag them if they had an Instagram. But it was a way to also, like I said, support small businesses and show the community that it's so important today to support small businesses in our community, because that's what makes our community whole. And it's local business owners that are running the businesses here.
Definitely. I think there's a lot of, us being in the chamber and working with a ton of different businesses, you get a lot of different perspectives. We're all going through something. But I think the mere fact that we're able to sort of be like coworkers, right? Like collaborate with each other, bounce off ideas, be like a leaning shoulder on when we need that. I think, it's what the community is able to bring. And if you are a business that is actively seeking these connections, not genuine connections, not just the business card, like, hey, let's trade business cards and it goes in the Rolodex, not that type of connection, but real genuine connections. And that helps your business, but also helps the community in general. And I think like you're right. You're like, I don't know anyone else that has been able to really like do that on a day-to-day basis. Like you're out there, not just promoting your own business, but promoting other people's businesses. It just the chamber that we're in, there's so many people that you collaborate with. So I think that definitely is a testament to who you are, the progression that you've had in business, and the future, the bright future that your business will have, not just in this community, but the surrounding communities if you ever hope to, if you ever are going to expand in those nearby cities and counties and things of that nature.
No, absolutely. 100% from what you just said. I love the word collaborate, because that was one of my words last year, was to collaborate. And I say collaborate because that's so important. That word itself is basically you're taking other businesses and working together to create a sense of, like you just said, a sounding board, or create that collaborative effort in promoting each other's businesses. And it makes that, I don't know, it's almost that team effort, of working together to be successful and learning from each other. I think that's so important, is learning from each other, because we all have different skill sets, different assets that we can bring to the table as small business owners, that can help elevate our businesses. Going back to the mission you had asked about, one of the missions when I started my business, personal missions of my own, was to inspire and uplift others, especially in the pandemic. Those were two things that I know a lot of probably small business owners struggled with, right? Just being uplifted because things were closed. But I would love to continue to do that with the community. But also, I would say with the younger generation, like with high schools. That is one thing too. Like, I always think about myself when I was growing up, I never was active in my community because, again, different time, different lifestyle. But now that I live in this community, the high school my daughter goes to at Chino Hills High School, it's literally down the street from us. And there's so many students in there that probably want something out of it, like want something from the community to be able to be part of a community. And I'm hoping to do that with the chamber, because I know there's different programs that are going to become available for high school students, but to be able to inspire and uplift high school students to find something that they're passionate about, what they want to do, rather than finding the mainstream of doing something that our parents have coached us to be in, or be like, oh, that's something that's going to make me dollar signs, and great and all. But is that something that you're going to be passionate about what you're doing? Because I myself had to learn that the hard way. Not that I don't regret it, because it was a journey that I went on, and it's brought me to the journey that I'm on now. So
that's fascinating. I think us, we come from the same Filipino background, not exactly the same, but, Filipino in itself, we have that mixture of, like, it's almost like a melting pot in Southeast Asia, right? I think a lot of times, we have a lot of Spanish influence being under the Spanish rule for, I don't know, like 400 something years, and then American rule and all that stuff. And we have the Malay, the Indo, the Chinese and Japanese and all that stuff. And when you blend all those cultures together, one of the things that is very Asian is very like, community, but also very strict, I would say. Like, I guess that's the thing, like, goal oriented. Yep. I know it's a stereotype, but we see that. I firsthand have experienced that. And I've seen it in my friends, my cousins, my family and stuff like that. Like, you're going to be like this when you grow up. And I think sometimes, like, a lot of the entrepreneurs, young-minded entrepreneurs of today, they're trying to break free from that, right? But like the best thing about the world right now, it's so easy to start a business. It's not easy to be in business, but if you have an idea, like, you can go for it, fail, make a mistake, mess up, and then stand back up and try again. If that's, I think for me, that's one of the best things that I did, was I got into business really, really early. And I made a lot of mistakes. I mean, there weren't big businesses, but still, like, little ones add up to the future of who you can become as an entrepreneur and as a person as a whole.
No, I mean, mistakes is so key. I always say, Ed, to add on to that, growing up in my own family, mistakes was never accepted. Like, I had to be this perfect. And that's where my type A personality came from, and my daughter now has. But
future WNBA, Haley.
Yeah, right. So for me, like, to learn how to make a mistake was something that I never knew how, because mistakes were never accepted in my household growing up. And, but even to and I told myself raising my kids, mistakes are not frowned upon in my household. I go, make the mistakes now because you will learn. Those are lessons that you will learn from. A mistake is something that you need to feel, because that first mistake is going to be hard, but the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, it's not going to feel that hard, and you learn. And I always tell them, like, I learn from my mistakes, especially as a business owner. Like, if it doesn't work, why didn't it work? Okay, so what do I need to improve on? And I try to incorporate that into like life lessons with the kids. Like you said, you spoke about my daughter playing basketball. She loves basketball, and I know she doesn't like hearing this from me. So like after every game, we always go a rundown because I do keep stats. And I always say, so what are 3 considerations that you need to think about for the next go around? And what are 3 good things that have happened that you can take to the next round? And, to this day, she always does that. And I know at first she was really like, why do we have to do this, Mom? But now that she's in high school and playing high school ball, I'm like, it's so important. And you take that nugget, I told her, and apply that to life lessons. I go, you'd be probably 10 times more better than I was when I was your age, and being able to maneuver life lessons that way. And that is one thing that I always tell people. I'm like, make mistakes. Like, as long as you learn something from it, it's not detrimental. Like, you're not going to die from it. It's not going to make a tick mark against you. So, yeah.
Remember, I don't know if it was back in Hawaii, if it was a thing, but over here, our like the older folks would always say, like, it's going to go on your permanent record. Do you remember that? Like, oh, you're going to mess up in school. It's going to be on your permanent record. That was a thing. Like, growing up, is like, it's going to be there. It's going to be there. Like,
yes.
No, it's not. It's not going to be there. Unless, you
right.
grow up, you make mistakes as an adult. That's a different story. But as a kid, like,
right.
Hey, make the mistakes.
Yes. It was ingrained in me not to make mistakes. And I was like, gosh, and then when I left home, when I left at 18, because I went away for college, I went to Seattle University, packed my bags. I always tell my mom this. All I had was a suitcase and a box, and I was away from home. And when I had I don't know what mistake it was, either getting a B or a C in a test. I don't know. I literally was just like, oh my God, what did I just do? And it was so hard for me to recover from that until one of my college friends were like, what do you mean? Like, move past it, get to the next test, you'll do better. But it was just a hard mistake to learn and stuff. But yeah, no, you grow up fast when you leave the nest.
Most definitely. Well, I'm curious, if you had $100 million tomorrow, what would you spend it on?
Ooh, I've thought about that every time, because the mega and then the Powerball were at that level.
Someone just won, I think, 400 something million in California.
Yes, in Woodland Hills. I was like, of all places, Woodland Hills. Off the top of my head, I would say pay off debts first and foremost. I would be financially free. Also continue to financially invest, something that I was never taught growing up. And now that I've started to learn that, having a financial investment and being able to put some of that money towards that, and basically help both my in-laws and my parents pay off their debts too, because I do owe it to both sides that have helped us in, one, with our families and helping with the kids when they were little, and two, to where my husband and I are now. That, and I would say always give back to the community. So finding local organizations that we can work with and help, especially during this time, make an impact. Like I said, we work a lot with Paws for Success that trains dogs for service animals. So that's another organization that's near and dear to my heart. And of course, travel. I love traveling. When things are kind of a little bit more settled, I always say, but I always love to travel. And that was one thing before the pandemic, my corporate job allowed me to do. I could see places, but travel with the kids internationally, that is, and showing them the different countries that I visited, but also I haven't visited yet.
That's very, very important because I think, I've spoken to a lot of different youngsters that have never been out of Southern California. The perspective that they have is completely different. Like for me, I went to high school in the Philippines. I speak fluently. Every time, like I was born in the Philippines, I came here when I was, I don't know, like 3. I went to Eagle Canyon Elementary School here, but I went to high school in the Philippines. But every time I'm here, I would go on vacation over there. When I'm there, I would come on vacation over here. So I'm always like, and my mom was moving. My mom was a single mom. She was moving all around. So every time I came here, it was like, oh, it's like we're living in a completely different area. I have no friends. I have nothing, all of that. But looking back at it, it helped me because I told my wife, you can put me anywhere except Mars, maybe. There's no internet over there until Elon Musk figures that out. But like, I'm fine, right? But the thing of it is because I was able to see different perspectives. And I think as my kids, that's what I want. Like if I had 100 million, that's the same thing that I would do. I would let them see the world. I keep telling my son, hey, like get as much done in high school so you could take what do they call it? Like a leap year? No, it's not leap year. It's like
it's a gap year.
Yeah. So like go out there, I don't know, like sign up for a mission or something, go like do something and then figure out like, because once you go to college, like we're not paying twice for that. Like you take it and then that's it. So figure it out.
No, I agree. And studying abroad is another thing that I always recommend my kids to do, as well as my niece and nephew that are, on their way to college, is to look at that. Because if you could do the same, could study abroad in a different country and learn a different language, learn a different culture. I mean, that's all valuable in your, like, learning all of that and absorbing that when you're that young. I mean, that's all valuable experiences. And again, that's a journey that you can talk about and even learn. And like you said, and maybe even figure out something that you never thought about, like in your career path. But I forgot to mention, of course, expanding my business, getting my storefront, maybe 2 storefronts. One in Chino Hills.
But also Pet expanding Inland it Empire San in Orange County, maybe instead of just Chino Hills. Right.
Definitely expanding my business, or I tell my kids it's our empire. It's our family empire that we're building.
Yeah, and look at how many, like the pandemic. I think we've talked about this before. The pandemic gave way to so many brand new pet parents. So imagine the amount of families that don't know what they're doing that you can help. Like I imagine it. Yes. I can imagine.
Absolutely. It's every day. Every time I'm at my farmers markets, which is where I have the best conversations with pet parents, is, I got my dog last year, or they're turning a year, and they have such and such issues, or how can you help me, or what can I do to improve their life? What can I do to decrease vet bills? Because it's taking a lot of money out of my pocket to move to the vet. Things like that. It really, it takes education for one, I always say. And I love talking with them. I mean, I tell them, you take what I can give you, and all you can do is educate. And I always say, you're the only advocate for your pets, because they can't talk when they go to the vet. And, vets are great at what they do. But I always say sometimes nutrition, that's something that's like not on their forefront. I go find something or start to look. I always say my best recommendation for pet parents or new pet parents, look at your ingredient list for your food. That is the best thing that you could do for your pets. Regardless of what food you've been given by that breeder or by the rescue or by that foster, look at the ingredients and take a look at it. Similar to us humans, we always, I'm not the best at it though. I'm going to be, I admit, taking a look at what you're feeding your kids or feeding yourself. Nutrition is such an important factor in your daily lifestyle. It's the same way for dogs and cats. What you put in them is going to be how they react, how they behave, how they grow into an older dog, and how long you have them. It plays I never thought about that growing up, But now that I've had my own dogs, I'm on my second set of dogs. Now I know a little bit more. And now, I said, I want that for others. I want this to be accessible to others, and be that education platform for nutrition for pups and cats too. So
fantastic. I mean, you're always a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this topic. I think you need your own podcast just to talk about all this stuff.
You've recommended me doing that before,
I have
too.
And here, like it's another invite. Like, hey, I have my podcast now. Start your own. Well, speaking.
No, and you're my very first podcast.
Oh, really?
So I've never done a podcast, so this is my first podcast.
Oh, good, yeah, perfect. Yeah. Well, it's not that hard, as you can see. We're just talking. There's nothing like formal about this.
No, it's not, and it's a good conversation. It's a two-way conversation we're having. But to your point, Chris, I would have to say you are a great resource for me, because when we first met, you gave me inspiration and pointers about Instagram and Facebook, like social media, how to uplift my social media or do over. And now I'm getting better at it, or I'm okay with either doing reels or lives that I've done. I haven't done one in a while, but I'm going to do one tomorrow. But I remember telling you, like, I don't know if I could do that. And now it's like, okay, now I know what to do. And, my daughter helps me out too as well, how to kind of make it look more appealing to the audiences. So
yeah, I think I was talking to Dave Harrison, the executive director of Pause for Success, earlier today, on his interview, and I was talking to him about that. And I tell him, my wife always calls me out. She's like, "Hey, if you're telling all these business owners, your friends and your colleagues, to do all these things, how come you're not doing it yourself?" And I'm like, she always like calls me out, right? Like, and I'm like, because I always make an excuse of like, hey, like, because I'm busy, like doing other people's, this is how I put food on a table, or one way to put food on the table is doing this, right, for other people. And I don't pay myself to do this for myself. So, but like this podcast is allowing me to get some, interviews and content out there. Because I'm able to share some perspective based on what you're saying, and also learn from the perspective that you're giving me. So I think, for me, this is where I can provide the most value, instead of, coming up with like little posts here and there. And I ask a lot of questions on these podcasts. Is what I want eventually is I want to slice these up, because these nuggets, gold nuggets is what I call them, of information that you're giving. These are going to be helpful for so many budding entrepreneurs. And someone, I think Dave was saying earlier, that this would be a good listen for somebody that's just trying to dust off. They've been in business for a while, and they want to kind of dust off like a little bit to kind of get perspective from new bloods in the business like us, that are trying different things that they may not have tried out. So
right.
I appreciate you letting me know,
agree with that.
Like that I've helped you in a little way.
No, that wasn't even little. It was a lot, just to be able to do that and understand how it worked. But it also made my page different. To this day, I celebrate because I made 1,000 followers, which I was like, wow, over 1,000 followers. I know. And it's organic. It wasn't like I wanted a lot in the beginning, but it was an organic growth, because people use my platform as a resource. Like I promote it as a resource for folks, because I do put tips. I put resources for pet parents to come to the page and look at. So I love that. And to your point, you do such a great job in interviewing and bringing out key nuggets, or like you said, golden nuggets for folks. And podcasts are becoming so popular today, where people take it on the go, and they listen to it on their walks, their jogs, or whatever it would be, because it's so accessible. And that goes to show you technology's come so far in the last 2 years, I would say too, as well.
Yeah, definitely. Just being able to do this interview like this live on video. Before, we would have to be either on the phone, you would have to call in, or I would have to meet with you in person and set up like a studio or stuff like that. Now we're just both on a browser, and we're just chatting. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So this is pretty,
like, keeping it simple.
That's what you do, right? Like, to be able to do a lot of these things. I was watching a video I think it was on YouTube. I forgot. There's so much source of content now. Sometimes I don't know if I'm watching it on TikTok. Am I watching it on Instagram Live, or you're consuming it somewhere? It's coming from somewhere. But it was basically like a guy that was just saying like, hey, just, break the barrier. What he was, when I looked at the little writing on his chalkboard, it says break the barriers. Like, oh, like defeat, all those struggles, or get back up and stuff like that. But it was simple. What he said was like, just do it. Just break the barrier, because you're going to have a lot of barriers. Like, you're going to say, well, I don't have the right microphone, or I don't have the fast enough computer, all this, all that, or I'm not good on camera, whatever. Just do it, because then you learn along the way, and you just pivot. Yep. And you what do you call that word? It's you basically pivot, and you just improve. That's all you could really do.
Yeah. And that's a lesson in itself, right? Like, you just got to do it, put yourself in it, and you develop, right? You grow within that process. Like you just said, you tweak it, right? You tweak it and you improve it, and it becomes seamless after that. But you can come up with all the excuses that you want. If you don't do it, then, someone else is going to jump on it, right?
Exactly. And if somebody does jump on something, it doesn't mean like, hey, that stops you from doing something. I mean, how many other podcasts are out there? There's literally like millions of them. The reason I did this particular podcast was all the podcasts that I personally listen to are profiling and featuring businesses or business owners that have made it. Right. But a lot of times there's a lot of us that are trying to make it. They're growing our business. We have some success, but not the ultimate success that we're all after. We have a different perspective than someone that has already made it, because they're not going to give you all the little nuances that I may go through. They'll just gloss over because they don't think it's important, but it's important for you and I, because we're going to go through all those little, things basically.
Right. Yeah. And that's a great way where you can have a variety of business owners, right? You have ones that are been in the business for years, and you have ones that have been in business for, the middle part of the years. And then you have ones that are still startups, right? And trying to get ramped up or upscale their businesses. And like I said, I find this podcast that you're doing will help me move my business to the next level where it can go. And it's just the tip of the iceberg of like, okay, well, I just scratched the surface. Where's the next, I have a vision of where I want to be, but I know I have to take it by step, the way how I've done it for the last year or so.
Absolutely. Well, in line with that, was there something that, you had or that you experienced in your childhood that when you look back at now, you feel that it sort of led you to where you are today?
I mean, to be honest, I never thought I would have been an entrepreneur myself. Like I mentioned, I was on this road or path per se. My ultimate goal before, when I was in high school, I wrote about that I wanted to be a lawyer, a biotechnology patent lawyer.
That's very specific.
I love science. Yeah, I love science and I love law. And I love literature. So I liked writing. So I found it like I could combine both. But of course I kind of steered to the path of becoming a doctor, which I didn't at the end of the day. I actually got my BS in biology. And I did research as a scientist, and then moved into like I said, I moved into the dark side. I became a sales rep or a consultant, for the laboratory. But from there, I think that's where it piqued my interest of like, well, as a sales consultant or an account manager, account executive, whatever you call me, I had a territory that I was assigned, or geography, and I was given that area to grow. I had a set of numbers. I had to attack and figure out a strategy on how do I get to that goal. And I didn't take any business classes whatsoever. I was a science geek. College was all science courses, no business classes whatsoever. So when I was thrown into business I would say, type of job and molding my science background. It was a good match because I could talk the science language, but I had to learn my business acumen just by trial and error. And doing that for what I think I did it for 17 years, had allowed me to build my business acumen and learn that I was my own CEO of my own territory or geography. And that's what probably stemmed me to be like, well, if I can make my own, I can find something that I'm passionate about, that I enjoy still working with people, but I also enjoy working with, animals. What can I do? And that's how the business became, the birth of my business came about. But that's the only thing that I always say I correlate to how I became a boss babe, was because I had my own territory and I had my own goals that I had to figure out my own strategy of how to get to that goal. And they were always sales goals. They were always number goals. So that's what drives me with my business of like, okay, well, how many customers do I need to talk to in order for me to, convert during that process into our food, into our treats, into our chews. But I don't even look at that anymore. I look at it more on this end as a business owner of what I do. I look at it as helping others. It wasn't more so of, yes, I want to help, bring revenue, but it's more so as how can I help you? How can I help your pet today? And even in my 17 years as a salesperson, or account executive, I always said, how can I improve your research? How can I get you to publish your results faster? What of my tools and resources can I do to help you? And that's how I've always attacked it, is that I'm not going to sell you something. I need to know what your issues are. What problems do you have? And let's see how I can help. And that's what I have always attributed my success to, and what I've learned, and why I always get asked, like, what makes you successful? And it's just, you have to be genuine, and you have to listen to what the person in front of you is saying and what they're wanting or what they're needing, versus you spitting out what you're doing, kind of deal. So, but yeah, no, I think it definitely, my entrepreneur mindset came from my previous role in corporate America.
Definitely. I think that says a lot about, who you are today, right? Like when you're telling me about you being a geek, studying biology, wanting to become a specific, combining sciences, biology and law, that's super fascinating. I think now that's why I think a lot of your clients gravitate towards the information that you're giving them. And that's why you said your organic followers have grown. It's because you are able to give them genuine and factual information, because you do geek out on the knowledge that you now carry, which is, giving the best pet nutrition for us, like, pet owners, to be able to give that to our fur babies and stuff like that. So I think that's why that explains a lot why you've grown into who you are and what you've become to our community here.
No, I love what I do, and you probably have heard me, especially during the chamber. I always do a "Did you know?" or "How can we help your pet today?" I enjoy talking to people, and I enjoy talking to them about their dogs, and sharing pictures of their dogs and their cats. And I think I'm a people person, and when it comes to working with others, and that's why I love the word collaborate, and because I get to work with others, regardless if they're a customer, if they're a pet parent, if they're a friend or a colleague. That's what makes me, I would say, wake up every morning, if anything, because I get to work with people like you.
Absolutely. I think one thing that a lot of budding entrepreneurs need to understand is sales is one of the most important skill that any one of us entrepreneurs needs to have. And I think for you, having 17 years of being able to manage a territory, grow a territory, be a CEO of a specific geographical area, and hone those people skills and sales skills, because I think that sales skills kind of get a bad rap, right? Like, you're just trying to push me and convert me from my widget to your widget, basically. But realistically, no, it's It's me consulting with you and figuring out what you're doing now is if you can make that more efficient, better, cheaper, faster, whatever it is. If my product or service can do that, that sales is just me letting you know that fact. It's not about me convincing you that, hey, like buy mine. Then it really is like what did they call that? Like snake oil salesman, right?
Yeah.
You're not a sales
or a used car salesman.
Yeah, exactly. You're not like that type of salesperson. You're basically consulting. Like you just said it earlier. You do it consultatively. So you talk to your pet owners and you talk to them about like what the problem is, and then you don't tell them like, oh, buy this. No, you buy this because it's going to do this for your pet, like itchy skin or whatever the case may be. You're able to consult with them and give them the factual information that you geek out about, and then that can help them, better the life of their fur baby.
Right. No, like, it's funny that you say that because I had met a customer today and she had run out of pet food and she had called me and she's like, oh, you're not open today. And I go, no, I'm not, but I can meet you, at our pet cart at the shops. And she's like, really? And I go, yeah, I'll meet you there. I go, the best part about it, I told her, I was like, I live locally. So she contacted me at the right time where I was still packing food for my deliveries. And when I had met her, she was like, she complimented me of like, you shouldn't have done this for me. But I go, well, no, I can do this for you because I live locally. I go, that's a value add for my customers is when you live locally. That's one thing when I started this business is I didn't want to travel anymore. I traveled so much in my past life that it's so nice to be local and to be able to get on a freeway and get off like in 5 minutes and be like, here's your fresh pet food. It was not a big deal for me to pack it up and get it to you. And so when she said that, it really means a lot when a customer says, you really helped my pet out because my pet loves your food because they're happy with it. They won't eat the other food that they used to eat. And so I always say that always makes my day. And the other part that tops my day is when I do my deliveries. Chris, when I make my deliveries sometimes around town.
I see you around town with your wrapped vehicle.
Yes, right, with my pilot, my wrap pilot. I have the dogs waiting at the window sometimes. And it's like, they startle me because I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even see them. Or, they'll bark and then their owner will let them out and they come greet me. And I'm like, that's the best part of my day of making my job, loving what I do, and delivering their food and whatever it would be, and they just, yeah. No, I have to start carrying treats in my car now because when they come out, it's like, I feel so bad. I have nothing to give them, but they give me kisses and all. But that's one of the best parts of my day about my job too, as well as, is visiting with customers and just hearing from them. Their feedback is so important to me.
Most definitely. I think, you brought up something there about travel, right? A lot of times, like for my old jobs, I did travel other countries when I was head of marketing and stuff like that, but not even that. But when at my other jobs, when I had to commute so far away, right? That was I didn't realize it, but now that, we're all like here, Main Street businesses working with other local businesses practically within the like 15 to 20 minute to 30-minute driving distance from where we are. And that's far already considering, right? With not much traffic. But before you're literally, one of my jobs, I was working by the airport by LAX and I commuted there basically 2 to 2.5 hours one way and then 2 to 2.5 hours back. Like that's when I think about it, my gosh, that's like 4, 5, 6 hours of my life every single day that's gone. And by the time I get there, I'm exhausted, right? And I don't realize it. I just think like, oh, today I'm not having a good day today. It's because like your body's just tired from fighting traffic all day. So I think that's one of the biggest advantages of being a local entrepreneur like yourself, where you can make your travel meaningful. I mean, you listen to podcasts and you read audiobooks and things of that nature, but the destination that you're going to, it's something that I can imagine. Like when you were describing that, I could hear the excitement in your voice. Like you're looking forward, like, oh my God, like I'm going to deliver to this customer. Most likely you've delivered to this fur baby before. And you're just like, oh, I'm going to get so much love, not only from the customer, but from the actual end user of my product. And that is like, no amount of money can pay for that type of like, like just affirmation.
Yeah. No, you hit the nail on the head on that one. It's like that joy that one dog can bring to you, is worth just worth it, worth what I've been doing. Yeah, it's hard work, but it's worth it to see that. I can relate to like commuting to LA, and to this day it's almost been a year since we've been to LA. Like I used to commute there like you every day, and I used to be so stressed out, and I can't believe how many hours I spent on the road, and to be able to do this in my own backyard I can't go back on it. And it's just like I can't even fathom to think I have to get into a car and drive to LA or drive to San Diego. I mean, not bad place, San Diego, but still it's like an hour and a half away when everything here is like within 15 to 20 minute driving, and no freeway sometimes.
Exactly. I wanted to ask you, what does being a local Main Street entrepreneur mean to you?
For me, it means that I can be part of my community. I didn't know what community I didn't know what I meant, what it means to be part of a community till I started my own business. Because I think for me, I was always, our lives were busy. We're either, my husband and I would be working, and he traveled a lot, I traveled a lot. So we would cross each other's paths, and kids were busy with different activities. And so we were never I would say we were never active in our community per se. I would go to some events, but it wasn't really like getting to know the community, like who I lived around. Now that I have a business within the Chino Valley, oh my gosh, like I really can say that I live in Chino Valley and I know people in Chino Valley, and they are part of the community that I live in, that I have my business in, and just contributing back, like I said, giving hope to others that in light of things that we've gone through in the last couple of years, that there is hope in keeping your business alive. It's not going to be easy, but if you plug in to the community events, plug into the chamber, plug into this podcast and listen to other businesses, that's what's going to help folks that are that need uplifting and inspiration and grow their business again and keep it open. But that's what it means to me. I feel like I'm actually a part of a community now, and that, that we've built, my husband and I have built, that we wanted to plant our roots for our kids to live. I mean, to see my daughter in high school now, I mean, she's gone to kindergarten and now she's a ninth grader. Even before that, she was at a in-home daycare, like literally down the street from me. So it's like she's grown in this neighborhood. And so I want her to be able to see like, hey, to be able to say, that's my mom's business. That's my mom and dad's business. That's our family business. And then, being a I would say a go-to for the community. Once we have our storefront, I want to be that community pet store that people come to and say, hey, I'm going to go to the Pet Wants Chino Hills down the street. I'm going to walk my dog there. We're going to get some treats, or we're going to go see Marijane, or we're going to see her team. And the team would be people from my community. Like I want to hire high school students or college students that are from Chino Hills, that are looking to go into the animal industry, whether they were going to become veterinarians or they want to be dog trainers or whatever it would be, business owners. I want to be able to mentor those, the younger generation, that you can be an entrepreneur at any time of your life, whether it be, when you're done with college, whether you are at my age where I'm like in my second, I would say it's my third career, if anything, that it is possible. So, but yeah, sense of community. I would say that's one of the I feel that now, being a part of this community that I live in.
Wow, absolutely. I think, when we see it on TV, right, these like Lifetime movies, like, oh, small shop, people knowing people, like, like I'm sure back in our corporate working days, like, that's cliche. That doesn't exist unless you live in like Timbuktu, America, right? But like, but here, like where we are in Chino Valley, like there's if you combine both cities and like a little bit surrounding, there's about 250,000 people over here. And not to say that we know 250,000 people, but there's a sense of community, like, just, like us being around the community going, you're always starting to see people. Oh, I know her, or I know him, or that's so-and-so's kid, I never thought that I would go back to that again. Where like, oh, like I actually know people when I go out, not, like in like with 250,000 people, like I said, it's like, I thought that was not possible. And I think you're absolutely right. It's all about the community and being able to be connected to the community, like homegrown feel. Like that's really, it's legitimate.
Yes.
It's legit.
Oh my God. So agreed. I mean, that's what it feels like to live in Chino Valley. And I know we live in our own world. I feel like we do live in our own world because people that I talk to, people don't really travel outside of here because everything's here. Like you can get something from Chino or Chino Hills. You don't have to go to another city outside of here. Because I mean, that's part of being a community is supporting your local businesses. Whether it be a restaurant, whether it be a store or boutique, like people go in there because they want their money to go into a small business and help build that business. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen on posts like, oh, go help this local business because, we don't want them to close your door. And then you see an outpouring of people to go there. It's amazing to see that. But yeah, no, the fact that you just said about the Hallmark movie, I remember something like last year we did Yappy Hour at Pause for Success with Dave. And it was one of the events where, I don't know, it was one of the best attendance that we had. And it was amazing because everybody came with their dogs, or if they didn't have dogs, they still came and they brought their families. And it was a very homey feel like setting. And I don't know, we were all like kind of in awe because like you said, we didn't, we always see it in the movies and this was kind of like in our backyard.
Definitely. I mean, like even English Road is sort of one of those things that I didn't realize. I remember growing up here, seeing, I always tell people, my mom would tell me like, you see that Boys Republic over there? If you're a bad kid, I'm going to leave you over there. And that's what I remembered. And now looking at it, like that's still there, but there's so much more around it. And like where Pause for Success is English Road, when you go there is like ranch and stuff like that. What, like, where am I? Like, is this still where
it's a different world?
Exactly. Which is so fascinating. And you're right. Like that. I think I was at that event when you guys had that Yappy Hour, and it was pretty amazing to see people from all walks of life. Some even without pets, just showing up, just supporting you, supporting the other businesses that were there, supporting Dave and Pause and all that stuff, which was amazing. And I think that's what the community really brings out in us.
Yes, especially in the pandemic. It took a while for people to start trusting to come back out. But now, I feel people are, now feeling it's okay. We have to continue living our lives, continue building a sense of community, and continue to supporting each other, which is so important. And keeping, a lot of the small businesses, it's their livelihoods. And some of them have been in business for years, and unfortunately, some of them have closed because of the pandemic. But I think a lot of the small businesses have hung on because of the people that live in our cities. So
most definitely. When you first decided to become an entrepreneur, how was that journey like? How was that transition like? Of you coming from corporate America to saying like, "Hey, I'm going to be my own business."
Man, that was a hard jump. It was like the leap of faith, right? It was leaping over that hill, that cliff of taking that bungee cord and be like, all right, I'm just going to jump and do it. It was hard to let go of that stability, that security, of course, right? Being your own business owner, you have to build the business, and the first couple of years, making your own profit, like paying yourself, is really not in the cards. But when I started this, like I said in the beginning, if I was going to start my own business, I would give 110%, which is what I did. And I went in knowingly what it would take. And so when I did that, I said goodbye to my full-time job and started Pet Wants. But I started it with a plan. I made sure that I had my 30, 60, 90-day plan with me, what I needed to do, what procedures and processes that need to be put in place before the business opened. So a lot of that had to come first. And so, of course, planning and then implementing that and executing it was key. And to this day, I definitely feel like that had helped me to where I am today, is referring back to that basically plan. And again, that all comes from my years of experience of having to put together these business plans and strategy plans. So I would say the only thing that I think the scary part was just not leaping into the unknown and being okay with not getting that steady paycheck. Cause I, definitely, having a family and especially having kids, it's definitely one of those things where we had to really think about, okay, well, what do we need to do to make sure that we still have a roof over our heads, that we still put food on the table, and that our kids can still be the kids that they want. But I can't believe it. Like I said, it's been an amazing journey so far. And, there's peaks and valleys, believe it or not, but, we're still here and we're still thriving in it. I always say the only direction that we're going is up. So.
Oh, who says, there's that movie, what is it? Sing? Like, Mr. Moon says, like, when you're down, there's nowhere else to go but up.
Yes. Yes. Wait, there's even a rap song. Oh my God. It's in my head because I always hear it when I used to work out, when I worked out at a gym, and it would be, you're going up, and that's the only direction that you're going to go.
I mean, pivoting to what you were just saying, about the journey and the peaks and valleys, what were some of the challenges that you faced when you first started, or even now as an entrepreneur and as a local business owner?
Well, first and foremost, being that we are a mobile pet store or pet nutrition company, a lot of it was based on, in our plan, was to do in-person events. So during the pandemic, there were no in-person events. So I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do now? Like, how do we launch ourselves in this pandemic? And that's where social media came into play. So we utilized that and started to craft our own message through social media. Farmers markets were actually essential businesses here in California. So that was a big lifesaver for us, because then we got into a farmer's market, and it was the right platform for us to get into, because it allowed us to, it was an outdoor space. So it was still, you could still maintain your 6 feet of distance, wear your mask. So it was still all, within CDC compliant at that time. But it helped us to get the word out. But of course, being in a pandemic, people were still not sure about coming out, right? But so that was a struggle to get people out. But we always said, we deliver. So it's all contactless delivery. We can talk to you over the phone. We can do a Zoom call, whatever you feel comfortable with. That's when, I realized that I had to use social media as a way to provide education for folks, what we do, and brand awareness. I would say the other struggle we had was building the brand. No one knew what Pet Wants was and who we were, what we do, and why do they believe us? Like, how can they trust us with their pet's diet? So building that was another challenge. And we still are building the brand. People know me now and know what we do. But like you said, there's 250,000 people where we live. And so we've only scratched the surface. But there's that. And I think just in general, I would say it's, how do I say it? It's getting the word out. trying to get to the 250,000 people, or even like another 1% of that 250,000. Like every time I drive into a new neighborhood, it's like, okay, I'm going to put this in my notebook, or I'm going to come back and put little door hangers. I'm like, I don't find the time in my day. And that's the one thing, a struggle as a business owner. The struggle is you don't have many hours in the day. You have to figure out how to balance your day out, and where are you going to, put your hours in first. First and foremost, I know most business owners will be like, well, I need sales because that's what's going to keep my doors open. And yes, that's what's going to keep everyone's doors open. But I also learned that marketing is important, right? Especially in areas that, I drive into. I get maybe 2 customers in that community, and it's like, well, if I did my homework and if I prepared myself, I can park my car and then maybe just spend 30 minutes canvassing that area and just leaving my information. And that's one of my to-do lists this year is like, hey, you know what? Be better prepared, Marijane, for marketing, and have that ready to go in your car. So that way, when you're in a new neighborhood, take 30 minutes. Why not? You can kill 2 birds with one stone. I say to myself, if I can walk around 30 minutes in that block, I already put 30 minutes of walking into my exercise schedule. So definitely time is a challenge still.
Most definitely. I think for our listeners, the biggest piece of nugget there is, I forgot who says it. I think it's Mike Tyson, that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Right. And I think the best thing that came out from there, you basically starting, which is not really advisable to, not that it's not advisable, but like who prepares for being stuck in a pandemic, starting a business and being hit with restrictions, being shut down and all these things. No one ever wished for that. No one plans for that, right? That's like starting a business while you're in war and things of that nature. Right. But you roll with the punches and you were able to pivot, right? Figure out what was available to you at that time, which was, luckily you had that farmer's market. And, you didn't stop there. You became a chamber member. You collaborated with other business owners such as yourself that could provide you some leads, some resources and things of that nature for you to be able to kind of grow a connection base that, we're willing to go out when it's for something that we need. And, like you touched on like marketing. I mean, me being on marketing, the marketing industry, it's very, very important. But I think one of the things that's lost in marketing is a lot of people think that you do easy marketing. Marketing is not easy. Marketing is about leaving a brand that people remember when you're not there to tell them about your business, right? Like you have an amazing, like the easiest thing about your brand is like, what is it? It's what Pet wants. Like, it's just like, that's what it is. Like, what is it? Oh, just Pet wants. Like, just buy something from me and it's what your pet will want. Like that's right. That's sort of,
or come discover what your pet
exactly.
wants. Like I always say, bring your pet over. He'll tell you what he wants.
And they do. I mean, I've seen you like sometimes I try not to disturb you when I see you at the shop. Like you're in your element. Like you see like the dog comes in and then you give him one of those like beef chews or like the liver or like those like like stuff like that like they just like you see their tails like wagging. Like my kids are like in the train and they see you and
well, it's like I always say it's like your dog is in a candy store, in their own candy store.
They are, yeah, absolutely.
That's the ambience that I want to create. Is just dogs don't have a place sometimes, for a fun place like
absolutely.
That. And I love creating that atmosphere and environment in our markets or in our events.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. Like what is it? Toys R Us, right? I mean, Toys R Us growing up. Like I would not imagine like my kids, like especially my little ones, like they don't know what Toys R Us is, right? Because like it's gone. I mean, they said it's coming back, but I think one of the things that I told my wife, if they just did what Lego has done, they would exist, right? Lego is just one toy and they have a Lego store. It's because they were able to come up with engaging things that it's valuable for their consumer base, right? And for you, I think that's one thing that that your cart provides. And I can imagine once you have a store, it's going to be a destination for all pet parents to bring their pets, whether whatever it is, they're going to just mix and mingle with their other co-parents, or it's to learn from your expertise. I can imagine you doing workshops and things of that nature. Like, that's what I imagine, like, Pet Wants Chino Hills and beyond would be in the next couple of years or so.
Yes. No, basically, that's my vision. Like I said, the community pet store where you can come and, have a, I call it not have a beer, but, have a ice cream with your dog or something. Like, we have ice cream events or even, like, again, collaboration. So, like, I would love to have pet sitters come by and talk about their pet sitting services, or dog trainers to come by, like Pause for Success, to come by and give some tips. Kind of that again, just the synergy of putting resources for pet parents at their fingertips, so they're not having to go and figure, like, oh, who do I go talk to? And so one of my visions in my store is having a community board. And so that way, a lot of the, business owners would come in, whether it be, again, small business owners, or if I wanted a pet resource community board, I'll have that for all my pet sitters, my trainers, and, all that for people to come in and be like, okay, I know who to go to, or here's some options for you to take a look at. So they don't only come to go buy stuff from me, but I'm like, hey, here are services that I don't offer, but they are in our community that you can go and talk to, or they can come to you and talk to you about it too. So again, that all revolves around building a community.
Most definitely. Maybe you should start up a Chino Valley pet chamber.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can imagine, like, business owners, there's a lot of business owners that have their own pets. They can bring them in and then they can sort of mingle with each other and all that stuff. I think that would be
right. And talk business.
And the pets can enjoy ice cream, like you said.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Maybe I'll have a mixer at my
pet
store.
Mixer.
Yeah, pet mixer.
There you go. Perfect. Well, we coined that here. So once that's out there, we talked about it here on the podcast first.
You did. It's noted. It's recorded.
Yeah, exactly. In business, in your life, what would you consider to be non-negotiable for you?
Integrity and work ethics. That's something that's non-negotiable, alongside with family time, right? But for me, I would say integrity and work ethic, because that's something that that will follow me, in my lifetime. And it's proven with, even again, from when I worked in corporate to even now, like, what I say, I stand behind. And if you're not happy, then let's give me the feedback and let me help resolve it. I'm not going to not resolve it. But also, being honest and being truthful. That's so important in business and as a individual. And then, like I said, family is non-negotiable, family time. So, I was very guilty of it when we would go on vacation. When I worked a regular job, I would bring work with me, because it's like, oh, it's so easy. I can log into my computer, check my emails, and I'll meet you guys at the beach or wherever we're at. Where, I realized, in owning a business, you work so much that when we took our first vacation last June, we went home to Hawaii to visit my family. That was the one time that I can ever remember that both my husband and I were disconnected from our jobs, and, like, never thought about an ounce of checking emails, maybe once or twice, but we went away on vacation and spent more quality time with our family. And it was like the best vacation, because we actually relaxed, and there was, like, not the afterthought of having to think about, oh, I got to send an email out, or I have to answer a call right now, or get on a conference call. Those were good times, and we look forward to more of those.
Well, let's wait for $100 million. And once your empire grows, you're going to get there.
Right. I can hire my team and then be able to go on vacation.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. I think eventually we have to get to that point, because, the team needs us to kind of set the direction and be able to come up with where the whole company goes. But you need help in being able to execute. And when you're tired and not productive anymore, you need that me time, family time, to just recharge and recuperate and be able to kind of replan pivot and iterate your business once again. And I think that's an important aspect of business that sometimes when we're stuck with the hustle and bustle of business, we just forget about.
We do. And it's so important nowadays, right? Mental health. Like no one ever talked about mental health. Like I never knew what mental health was. I mean, I knew what it was, but it was never spoken out loud because that was kind of like a no-no, right? But today it's so important to talk about that. And like I'm open with that with my kids too as well, because that's so important too, to talk about mental health. That even as business owners, like we struggle with that because we take it all on ourselves, right? We have so much responsibilities as a business owner, but at the same time, our health is important because if we're not healthy, we're not physical and mentally healthy and well, then that takes a toll on the business. Like you can't be there 110% or 100%. And you can't be there for your family, right? And again, I mean, for me, I started the business because I wanted something for our family. I wanted to build something that, one day we could pass on to our kids if they choose to run it. Or like you said, I can build it and then hire a team that we can train and make it a part of their own as their own, but be able to also lead them as they run the business. I mean, that's the goal. And, we live in America. There's so much opportunities. And, I never understood that till I became a business owner.
Most definitely. Most definitely. If you could have one superpower, what would it be? But before you answer that, let's take a quick break.
Today's episode is brought to you by Thinkin' Local, a fundraising and giving-based marketing platform whose mission is to connect local Main Street businesses who care about making an impact in the local community with schools and nonprofits who believe in supporting their local businesses. Find out more by visiting local.com.
So, Marijane, if you could have that one superpower, what would it be?
I would say teleporting either in time, like going back, and then in the future. Just because if I could go back to when I was, again, growing up, I could tell myself back then, like to be not to make mistakes, that you have you have your own open book, right? That you can create your own journey. You can create your own chapters of that. That you don't have to follow this rigid path that you've been coached at. So I would want to do that. And then in the future, like tell others that there is, that you can be anything you want. And when I say teleport into the future, I want to be able to like visit different countries and visit different areas, but tell everyone, young, old, and that you can be anything you want to be, and don't let anyone tell you or stop you from doing what makes you happy, because it is your own journey. It's your own book that you get to write. I always remember, you are the captain of your own ship. It was Dead Poet Society. And I always remember Robin Williams. I love that movie. And I know my kids are like, oh, I haven't watched that movie. And it's one of those old movies. But it's like you are the captain of your own ship at the end of the day. And don't let anyone else steer that ship for you.
That's so powerful. That's really, really golden right there. If our listeners re-listen to that over and over again, if you're stuck in a rut, just don't know where you're going. I think just listening to that, what you just said is just so powerful and impactful to any one of us who are in business or just in life in general. Right. In your opinion, what would you say is the most crucial personality trait that you feel an entrepreneur would need to have to succeed?
There are many words I could probably think of, but you said trait?
Yes, a crucial personality trait that an entrepreneur needs to have to succeed.
Well, one is still perseverance.
Yes, for sure.
Definitely perseverance, for sure. And the other one is being passionate, having passion in what you're doing, so in the business that you're doing. Because without that passion, you can't build your business. or you can't have your business grow without that passion, because it's the passion that is what ignites that fire in your belly, right? Of what it can do, what this business can do for others. So I would say definitely perseverance. So to help you get through the highs and lows of your business. And then, so never give up. And then the other one is just being passionate about what you do. Definitely a big characteristic, because that's why we go into business, is because we love the idea, the product, the solution that we offer, that can help others at the end of the day.
Most definitely. In line with what you were saying earlier about the one superpower for you to be able to travel back in time and forth and forward in the future, if you could make just one mistake over again, what would it be, and how would you do things a little bit differently or majorly differently?
I would have, so the mistake that I probably would have done is change my major into business. So major in business, whether it be marketing or admin, and then minored in biology. If I had been much more braver and said, hey, mom and dad, I'm taking a switch in my career path, and said, and I know it probably would have taken me an additional year to finish that, but that was the mistake that I didn't do, because then that probably would have, definitely changed my course, my journey, of course, of where things would have led me. But yeah, if I would have been more braver to just tell my parents that and just say, hey, I need to make this change. And, I know in the beginning you said, we want our kids to be focused when they go to college. Cause yeah, it's definitely money, that we put down on them. But I also say, I tell my kids, just be vocal, but have focus, but be vocal and intentional. And so that way, if, back then, if I had said that, then maybe life would have been, my journey would have been different. Maybe I would have been an entrepreneur sooner than later.
Most definitely. Is there someone or something that you turn to on those times that you sort of feel stuck?
First and foremost, I'm very spiritual. So definitely the big guy up there. I do have a, what do you call it? It's my, it's a book of quotes, women's intentional verses that I read. So I always, even though I've read it, not a million times, but over and over again, I will pick one of those verses and just reflect at night. And the other part is turning to, my boss babes. So even in this, realm, in the last year, a couple of ladies that are also boss babes, that are also part of the community in the chamber, Razel and Deanna, they own their own businesses. We got together and we now, have our own collaborative, group and circle that we bounce ideas off of each other. And if we're having one of those days, we can either text each other, or we can call one of us that we can just lend an ear to. That has been helpful too, in getting out of that rut or out of that funk, I like to call it, when things are down or things didn't go the way that I expected to be.
Absolutely. And again, that's community. It's smaller, but still a community. Just very, very
right. And I never would have thought to form a boss babe circle. Being an entrepreneur, I think before I even joined the chamber, I knew that I had to get into the community to grow my business, because that's my vision, was to be part of a community, to be able to bring a value add to the community. But I didn't think meeting other entrepreneurs and forming my own circle. I always thought about, I got to go join a networking group and put myself out there. But being able, like I said, I'm more intimate. Like I like big groups, but I'm more of an intimate person that likes that smaller group setting that we can actually listen and be intentional with each other. So I do better at that, put it that way. After all I'm pretty sure you've done like all these personality tests and stuff in corporate and whatnot. So
sure.
Yeah. What color are you, and what part of the quadrant are you falling?
I know. It's crazy, especially in management, right? Like you're trying to, because when you get your team to do it, you have to do it too. So it's like,
yes.
like for me, like you're right. Like being able to collaborate. Like I was telling my wife the other day, when we were in corporate America, we would always like, have drinks out or like collaborate with our coworkers, right? Like share a night or like a drinks after work and stuff like that. But what I've seen is it's so different when you're doing it with other entrepreneurs. When you're not in the same, you're not trying to solve the same problem. You guys are out there trying to solve a different community problem, going at it in a different way, but being able to share some of those struggles, some of those like shared experiences. I think that's what's been so like fascinating and also uplifting for me. Like I think it was last week that I got together with a few other business owners, and we just, shared some drinks and talked and things of that nature. And I came home, I was like so ecstatic because I felt like, hey, like there's some things that they're going through that I'm going through that I don't feel alone anymore. I feel empowered to like, hey, if they're breaking through it, they gave me some pointers on how they've gone through it. Like I can do this. So I think you having that boss babe is definitely like highly, highly recommended to any of our listeners who are budding or current entrepreneurs. When you feel stuck, like reach out.
Yes, there's so many business owners that are willing to help, or they could become your mentors, and they can provide so much knowledge, or just even like you said, a sounding board, because that way you're not feeling alone. Because I think that's the most important thing that you just said is like as a business owner, sometimes you feel alone in it, right? Like you have so many challenges and you get overwhelmed, and that's when you have to take a step back and say, okay, well, what is it that I need to figure this out? Or who can I call that's going to help me, provide some considerations that I need to start taking a look at. And that's the thing is like, you also have to have fun with it, right? So if it's meaning getting together at a bar and just having a few drinks or having happy hour with your friend, with your colleagues, that's a great way to kind of let off steam. Also celebrate. I always say, in business and in life in general, celebrate the wins. Celebrate the wins, and then you learn from your mistakes or you learn from the losses. But celebrating wins that are big and small makes it for everyone, makes it for you. And again, those are some things that I've learned from others that I never thought about. Like I always celebrate my big wins, but what about the small wins? Like that's also, taking baby steps to that big win, right?
Yeah, like what they say, like how do you eat an elephant? One fork, one knife, one slice, every single, like something like that, like eating a elephant one slice at a time or something like that, right?
Right?
Just taking
because
small
it's such
chunks.
a big chunk of guy, right?
Yeah.
Like you have this big thing in front of you. Like how do you attack that? And you attack it like you just said, just small bite at a time.
Ooh, there you go, one bite at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And like I have Kobe behind me. God rest his.
Yes,
I'm a big Kobe fan. Laker fan.
I'm a Kobe fan too.
I know. We just celebrated his 2-year death anniversary a couple of days ago. Like right? That was like, man.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
That's crazy. But yeah. I mean, I always remember him when he's talking about championship. Is like, hey, 24 hours. I'll take it a minute at a time, like a little bit at a time.
Yes.
Like my shot is not going in. I'm gonna shoot 1,000 times, and I'm gonna work on that one skill. Just focus on it, and then move on to the next one, until like, hey, you have a breadth of career that you can be proud of.
Well, and it just goes to show you for an individual like him to say that. I mean, he did it.
Yeah.
And anyone can do it, right? Like that's what he was. He was an inspiration to others, and to see him and flourish. So I wasn't a Kobe fan to begin with, just because I thought he was like, young guy. But over the years, and I was always born a Laker fan too. So born and bred in Hawaii, Laker fan. And but watching him grow and listen to him and perfect his skill sets, and then to see him be a dad to his daughter and play ball that way and teach her that. I mean, I learned so much from that from those few years. And I'm just so sad that I won't be able to see that anymore. But he left a legacy that, shoot, like that's something that I can take for my own business as well as personal development.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, like I was reading an interview with Gary Vee, his pretty much his trainer all his career, 20 years in the NBA. And he said that Kobe wasn't the most talented. He wasn't the best at anything. He wasn't the most athletic and stuff like that, but he worked on his craft like no one's business. Right. And I think that's something that we take away from us is we work on our craft every single day. And, we hope to be great at it someday, but I think it's the process that kind of helps us get better because of those trials and tribulations that we all go through in life and in business that allow us to get better and better and better and better. And the final iteration of it is later on once we've actually achieved that success.
Right. No, and the reward in itself at the end of that journey, if you use that word, is being able to look back at that and say, I did that. I was able to build that from day one to whatever day it is that you are at when you finally can say, that is my baby. That is what I've given birth to and have built it so far. And this is the impact that it has for my community. And that, I always say that, and that has all made all the difference, right? I mean, for anyone that's in business, you can see that, and the reward is in itself. The fruits of your labor is right in front of you, and no one else can take that away from you.
Yeah, for sure. If you could talk to your 18-year-old Mary Jane self, what advice would you give her?
Take risks. Take risks regardless of what the consequences are, because those consequences you learn from it. I always believe that when you take risks, and I learned taking risk at a later part in life, because the risk that I took was leaving the science, or I would say risk that I took was leaving an island that I lived on for 18 years and going to the mainland for school on my own. From that to then being okay not going to med school and just finishing my degree and deciding to become a scientist for a little bit, and then leaving the scientist role to become an account executive and do that role for X amount of years again. Were all risks that I took that have made me the person who I am today, and where it has led me to becoming my own boss. I always believe there's one saying, and I'm trying to remember, by Mark Zuckerberg. The biggest risk is not taking any risk, which is powerful because it's so true. Like if you never take that risk at all, you won't know what the result would be, right? It could be good, it could be bad. But it's in order to grow, I always believe that you have to take risks in life. And like I said, all the risks that I've taken have led me to where I am today. And it's basically filled my own book of life of what my lessons that I've learned. It pushes me outside of my comfort zone. Because sometimes, again, growing up Filipino, you had to stay in the line or stay in your lane. God forbid you go into the other lane, they'd be like, no, there's no other lane. You're staying in this lane. And that was hard. Like you can't, so getting out of my comfort zone took a while to do, but, it pushes me to be out of my comfort zone. So to be uncomfortable. And then, it's an opportunity to make something happen. But at the same time, I also learned to embrace the journey, because in that journey, you learn a lot about yourself. I learned a lot about myself. I'm going to be 46 this year, and I'm not afraid to say that. So being 46, as you get older, I still believe it now that you get wiser. I still have a lot to learn. But I've learned so much in my last years. I think more so even than the last 2 years in what I've done, and the risks that I've taken, and the risks that I've taken at myself, right? Being a business owner, you take a risk on yourself. You're telling yourself like, hey, I'm leaving my security there, but I'm going to do this because I believe in what I do. I believe I can do it because I've been so successful in this realm. Why can't I be my own boss? And that's what I would basically tell my the younger self, take risks. I tell that to everybody, take risks. It doesn't cost you anything.
For sure. That's wonderful advice. I think who said it? It's either Michael Jordan or Wayne Gretzky who said, you miss every shot that you don't take. Right? I forgot which one of them said that, but one of them did.
Yes. No, I believe, right? I mean, that's a great analogy. Like, and I tell that to my daughter too. She's in the other room. I always say that.
Take those shots.
If you don't take that shot, you never know if you're going to miss it. You already missed it by not taking that shot.
Exactly.
So it's like, I tell that to myself too as well. If I don't take that shot, if I don't take a stab at talking to that customer because the customer's not looking my way, the customer won't know what I do.
Yes.
And so it's like me being able to be comfortable in approaching a customer and saying, hey, I see you have a dog there. What's your dog's name? Just start the conversation, or, whatever it would be, find a commonality. I know people say, I'm not a good salesperson. Neither am I. I never thought I would be a salesperson. I never saw myself going into sales for the life of me. And so when I did that, I was like, wow, I had it in me. But like I said, I was never a salesperson. I was more of a consultant. I love working with people. And I tell folks when they say I'm not a salesperson, I'm going to take that out of the equation. Just say you're a people person. You love people, right? Find a commonality. Ask the question. Hi, how are you? What do you do? I see you like whatever it would be. What do you like doing? Or just start that. And it comes easy, right? It's a conversation. It's like what we're doing right now. We're just having conversation.
Exactly.
And so,
absolutely.
And you get over that fear immediately when you become comfortable with it.
Yeah,
so
I completely agree. As an entrepreneur, what has been your favorite productivity hack?
My favorite productivity hack has been scheduling my posts. So finding a platform or a tool that allows me to craft and create my Instagram posts, and that can share it to both Instagram and Facebook. And it's free. So for any entrepreneur out there, if you're looking to get creative and you don't have any creative bone in you, look into Canva. Canva is a good one. And another free platform was Hootsuite. Being able to schedule my posts out, like I said, every entrepreneur is busy, and even myself, I try to be consistent in my posts. And so when I can, I plan out my posts, or if I'm doing reels, I will just do it in my car, and just get that out. So that's my productivity hack, because I know social media is a big driver in my business. For
sure. Just a side tip there. The same content everybody should post to their Google My Business page, because Google My Business is not really utilized as much, but Google is still the largest search engine in the world. So posting the same exact post, the same exact caption, just gives more content for Google spiders to crawl and, index your business. So just a side tip there.
Question. I hit the sidebar on that. Can you elaborate a little bit on Google then? So do we just copy and paste that into Google?
Yeah. So you would create, basically how you have a Facebook profile, you also have your Google My Business listing, right? In your Google My Business listing, you're able to, change your hours, change your, all these basic information about your business, right? But you're also able to post a picture, post a caption. So the same information, the same tip, you post it in there, because when somebody's searching for your business, they're either going to look at Yelp for reviews, or they're going to look at Google for reviews. And with Google, you can actually share a caption. With Yelp, all you can do is share a photo. And with Yelp, to be able to really elaborate on or take full advantage of Yelp profile, you have to be a Yelp advertiser. You have to pay. I think they charge, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure it's $1 a day to post your logo on Yelp. But for Google, you have it's free. So just utilize it, just post there. And then, it's not for people. You don't have a social media presence on Google because there's other social media people looking for you. It doesn't work that way. But if someone is looking for your business, they're most likely, Google is going to show their local directory listing first before everybody else. Right. So it's free out there. So just post.
Thank you for that nugget, Chris, because I'm going to start doing that now.
Yeah. And it's, like I said, it's free. I mean, it's just, you can't, I don't think Canva can post there. I use a tool called, it's like a Hootsuite. It's a startup. It's called Hello Woofy. And you might look at it because like, it's like a pet friendly, like mascot, like Hello Woofy. They have they're still in investment mode. They're trying to go fund and stuff like that. I was, an early investor in the business. I mean, not that I invested a lot, but just a little bit. And I use their system, and it's not, I wouldn't say it has all the bells and whistles that you need, but you can do a library. You can post like evergreen content. Like, for example, if you have 30 days worth of content, in 30 days, a lot of those content, if they're tips, they're not like, if they're evergreen content, you can just cycle through it. So Hello Woofy allows you to just select like these 30 from this library. I want you to post it every other day for this platform or for that platform. So then you can just set that up and it's just recycle like the same facts on your food. It's not going to change much, right?
Right.
So that can be posted next month, 2 months later. It's going to be the same. So you always have evergreen content that's just posted every single day without you having to worry about it. And then when you have the time to do the custom post on Canva, then you go in there and supplement like, hey, I'm at the farmer's market today and whatever. So then you have these evergreen content that just gets flowing into your profile and you don't have to worry about it that much. And Hello Woofy allows you to post on LinkedIn, it's like Hootsuite. It's like Hootsuite.
Yeah.
So you're able to do all of those, including Google My Business. So that's,
I like that. I'm gonna have to look at that.
Yeah, and it costs a little bit of money, but you pay one time lifetimes. Like, I don't know, it's like.
Oh, really? So it's not like an annual
Yeah,
fee
then that's what I loved. I mean, I was an early adopter for Hootsuite, and I've tried a bunch of different ones. There's another one called Hero Post. I've done them as well. They're like a knockoff of Hootsuite. But yeah, Hello Woofy, I've been very happy with them. I mean, they're in beta, so they're ever changing, but the basic features of it is more than enough for any small business entrepreneur to really take advantage of. So
interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
For sure. Well, if there were 3 wishes you were granted today, what 3 wishes would Marijane wish for?
I would wish for my storefront to be open by the end of the year or even sooner. My second one would be, it would be basically to be able to push research forward for pediatric cancer. There's just so much cancer, with COVID. I feel like the other diseases like pediatric cancer have kind of been put to the wayside, and there's still kids out there that are suffering that deadly disease. And it's near and dear to my heart because I do have family members that I've lost to pediatric cancer or friends that I know that have lost their kids to that. So would love to help with that and that, or find better ways of treatment. And then third one is just being, I would say my third wish would be financial freedom. I mean, who doesn't want financial freedom? And so being able to be, own your own home and be able to then, I would say enjoy life a little bit more relaxed, anything. Well, yeah, those are my 3 wishes.
Awesome. Those are great wishes. Can you recommend 3 books for our audience that has helped you?
Ooh. One, I would say, so I love quotes. So one is by, I don't know if you guys know Hoda Kotb. She's a correspondent on the NBC Today show. And she has these books. Oh my goodness, why am I blanking out on hers? It's basically a book of quotes, her favorite quotes. I really needed that today, basically is one of them. But she has 2 of those books out that I have, again, by my nightstand that I definitely love opening it up and then reflecting. And then the second one is In Her Purpose. And it is a great book. Again, I think I love these books because I can relate and I use them to reflect when I have those moments or when I need inspiration. So In Her Purpose is a collective book of stories of, I would say, Asian women entrepreneurs that tell their story and their journey. And I can relate to it. And I think any entrepreneur would be able to relate to it because we've all been there or we've all been through it. And it is also inspirational. In fact, one of my friends, she's a business woman too as well. I don't know if you ever been to Cafe 86 in Chino.
I have not.
Ginger. Yeah, you have to. We have to go get a drink there one of these days.
Yes, we will.
And because they have like ube everything.
I love ube.
Yes. So, but that she's in that book. She shares her story and her journey of when she started her business. But those are probably the books I have other books in mind, but those are the 3 books that are lying on my nightstand that I have.
Well, awesome. Well, maybe we can get her on the podcast too to talk about her journey in the Main Street as a business owner, local business owner.
Well, she's built her empire now. She has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locations, I believe.
Wow.
It's amazing.
It is.
And she
amazing.
did that. She opened up Union City just recently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's the first one in the Bay Area.
Wow. That's very, very good. That's amazing. Well, I would love to learn more about her. And we'll definitely have to go to Cafe 86 and visit. I mean, it's local,
right?
So we have to.
It is.
What are you most looking forward to now as of your future as an entrepreneur?
I'm looking forward to expansion, like expanding my business and taking it to the next level. I'm looking forward to, like I said, the storefront's definitely a big part of my vision this year to get that ball rolling on that, but to also even hire my first employee, part-time employee, that I can help groom or train to be a bit, whatever their goals are. But the person that I'm going to hire has to be passionate and love animals because that's the business that I'm in. And it's not about just having a job, but it's about loving what you do. And just I would say, ability to reach out to more pet parents. Again, education is so important for me because I have 3 dogs. My oldest senior dog was one of the reasons why we started the business too, because he had a sensitive digestive system. And we always went from brand to brand, because someone said this or my vet said, let's put him on a prescription diet. And I said, no, because I don't want to. Does it make sense? Just things like that. But it just came down to finding higher quality food for my dogs. And so if I can help, one more pet parent every day of this year and every year moving forward, that is even, payment in itself. Like that makes me happy to be able to do that and be able to have healthy pets, because a healthy pet is a happy pet, I always say, and a happy pet has happy parents. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that and just collaborating with other businesses. I look forward to increasing my network of businesses that I work with or partner with, and helping each other grow and seeing them grow and celebrating their growth. I mean, you and I were just at Vola's grand opening for her new location, and I remember meeting Vola at her previous location, and that was about 1.5 years ago. And she and I, we're talking about it, and I said, "Oh my God, like the day has come." I go, "You're finally here. Like you have your bigger location," and it was beautiful. And just being able to be part of that, last night, inspired me to keep pushing. It's a long road ahead to have a storefront, and I get it. Like there's reasons why I've taken baby steps towards it, but like I said, having people like Vola in the community and seeing her flourish too has helped to keep me inspired.
Most definitely. Is there a question that you wish I'd asked you that I didn't get a chance to?
No, I don't. You've asked a lot of good questions, and we've kind of covered them all. I'm trying to think. Yeah. Or you know what? I always get asked, who would you want to have dinner with?
Oh, okay. If you had a chance to have dinner with anybody, who would you have dinner with?
You know, mine's would be if I would invite
Dead or alive? Dead or alive?
Yeah, dead or alive, right? So my alive person would be Oprah Winfrey.
Great. Yeah.
Because Oprah Winfrey and Ellen DeGeneres, because those two are characters and they know how to promote kindness, and being kind to one another, right? For me, I loved watching both of them because I just saw these women that came from nothing that made something of it, and are helping others. And then the other person I'd invite to dinner would be Kobe. Just being able to pick his brain again and just talking with him, just having a conversation and getting his Mamba mentality right, and getting in his head and being inspired and, keep pushing. He's probably what he would say. I watched different clips of him, especially during his death anniversary. And, I think I was having one of my moments of like, oh God, today's just been so crazy. And I just sat down and just watch some of his clips. And I'm like, you know what? He's not here, but look, he said this, So when you're having one of those moments, I definitely encourage business owners to find something or someone to listen to or read that can give you the reflection and that push to keep moving forward.
Most definitely. I mean, my wife always jokes. I have this weird. I downloaded this YouTube video of like a motivational thing with Kobe, like him popping his fingers, like like the injury videos, right? Like when he has shoulder injury, like all that stuff, and then coming out the next day, still practicing and going out. And I think it's one of those things that when you trust the process, it'll help you go through whatever it is that you're going through.
Oh my God, I love it. Trust the process. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. That is so true. Trust the process. Have faith in yourself.
Yeah, you have to. Well, in closing, what is one piece of advice that you can share with our listeners on their journey to becoming or as an entrepreneur?
My advice would be, I've given so much. I feel like I don't know if I'm repeating myself, but my one advice is to laugh more, choose joy because you chose this journey for yourself. So when you're having those moments, and I do have them, just remember that you have a choice, right? You have a choice to choose whether or not you're going to get up in the morning and do what you need to do, and be happy about it. And you only have one life to live. So, to all my business owners, colleagues out there, choose joy. You have that choice, and every day you won't regret it. And for what it's worth, when I choose, those are the two words that I choose this year, though, choose joy, because that will only help me move forward and push me, to get to the goals that I set for myself this year. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marijane, for giving me the time today and our listeners. Where can listeners find more information about you and your business?
Yes. So like I mentioned, we are a mobile pet nutrition company. You can find us on Wednesdays at the Chino Hills Shops Farmers Market, 3:30 to 7:30. And then Thursdays through Sundays, usually we have our pet cart. We have various hours. So, and then you can find us online at petwants.com/Chino Hills. The best thing is follow us also on Instagram and Facebook at Pet Wants Chino Hills. And our Instagram is always up to date and where you can find us in the city.
Fantastic. Well, I invite our listeners to please connect with Marijane from Pet Wants Chino Hills. You'll find her driving around town, delivering your pet wants. Also connect with...
Don't forget to honk.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Or let your dogs out the window.
Yes.
Also, please.
Hey,
yes, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I just wanted to thank you personally, Chris, for inviting me onto this platform to be able to share some of my experiences, words of wisdom, if any,
A lot
for other entrepreneurs. And I hope that the information and experiences that I've shared here today can help someone out there that's going through a rough time, or having some struggles, or even just wanting to reinvent themselves with their business.
Most definitely. Thank you for that. And our listeners, please watch this video this podcast over and over. Pick out the best nuggets that you can find, which you will find plenty. Also, I urge you to please subscribe, leave a rating and review. I'd very much appreciate your honest feedback, which helps me continually provide impactful content that I hope you will find valuable. And remember, every day that you face adversity, think of it as an opportunity to find the gold inside you. Until next time, have a success-filled day.
Thanks for listening to the Behind Main Street podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. Remember to visit www.behindmainstreet.com.